So we are now progressing to the footer. So right at the bottom, we have a big container that includes 3 divs with the company address on the left. Then we have some recommended links in the middle, and also some links, other resources on the right. So let's look at the code. So here we have our div container, and this is where it's ending. And this div container includes another div with the class of footer. I'm not using the footer element because it's already used on the website. If we check out all the way to the bottom, we already have a footer that wraps the website credits. Footer, which is itself wrapped inside a container. So let's go back to the div with the class of footer, in which we have a div that includes the company address. Below we have another div with 4 columns as well with an unordered list, and another div with another unordered list for other resources. So we're going to start with the company address. So back on the Bootstrap site, we're going to see that Bootstrap is providing with styling to display addresses. So we're going to go under typography, addresses, and here is the exact same example that I used on the template. So what I did is just copy this code snippet that I pasted on my template. Here it is. So this is a nice structure that allows to nicely display contact information. Next, we're going to look at this other div that includes an unordered list for recommended links. This is this section on the design in the middle. And this is how this looks on the final design. So we're going to try to customize it in order to reproduce the same design. And first we're going to start with the company address. So back to the Bootstrap site, we're going to go on the components page and find the section for wells. And using the class well allows to create a simple and nice effect. So we're going to go ahead, copy this class and paste it back in our template for the company address. And back in the browser, we're going to check out the result, and here it is. So now we have the company address with a nice light gray background and rounded corners. So we're going to continue and customize those 2 lists. So underneath, we have 2 other divs that includes an ordered list. And this is the look that we're aiming for. So still on the components page on the Bootstrap site, we're going to go find the panels. More specifically, the panels with heading. So we have a parent div with a class of panel, and we're going to use the same div. We're going to wrap this content, the unordered list. We're going to place this div on top of the h4. And we must not forget the closing tag for this div. We're going to continue and transform this h4 into a heading. So for that, we're going to copy this div with the class included. And this closing tag for the h4, we're going to replace it with the closing tag for the div. Here it is. Let's see how this looks now. So we're going to reload the page. So we have a beginning of a design, so that's not bad. We notice already that the design looks a little bit off, and what we need is some space between the body section and the footer. And in the code, what we're going to do is add some margin. So I'm going to start by adding an HR tag, which is going to add a line to create a separation. So let's start with that and see how this looks. So that's already better. And we're going to need to add some margin as well. And remember, we already have a class for the margin, so we're going to add this one. And we're going to check in our custom.css file. And the style associated with this class is 3% margin, top and bottom. So back to the HTML page, we're going to add this class and reload to see how this looks. So that's not bad. So now we have a margin, enough margin between the two. One last adjustment is that I'm going to actually include this HR tag inside the container. Here it is. And we're going to check out again. And great. So we've improved the style, the design of the entire page. So let's move along now. Back to the customization of the panel, we can see that we have some styling missing for the list. Our list is still unstyled. We're going to continue to consult the documentation for Bootstrap, and still under panels, we're going to go to list groups. And here we see that we have the options to add a list groups by using an unordered list, to which we're going to add a class of list group. So the step is that we're going to copy this class, then go back to our HTML document, go to the unordered list, and then paste. Also, we need to add this class to every list item. So let's use the result now. So here it is. So now we have a nice panel that includes a list group for our recommended links. We need another step in order to have this nice green background color. So for that, we're going to go to the documentation again. And under panels, find contextual alternatives. And for our example, we're going to use panel success. So let's go back to our code and find the div, the parent div, to which we're going to go replace this one to panel success. So here it is, reload the page. And that's it. So we've successfully changed the color from default to green. So now we're going to do the same for the other resources div. And for that, what we're going to do basically is simply to copy and paste the exact same setting, the exact same code, to the next div. And finished, and now we should have two divs nicely displayed by using the panel settings. Great. So by looking at the company address, we can see that the container is slightly bigger, higher than the other divs. It's probably not a big deal, but we can certainly find a solution to it very quickly. So for that, we're going to use the inspector tool and find the element corresponding to the div that wraps the company address. Here it is, and now we can read that the height is 219 pixels. Still using the inspector tool, we're going to do the same for the other divs. So we're going to go place our cursor on this one for the recommended links, and we can see that the height is at 206 pixels. So this is slightly smaller. And 206 pixels, we're going to keep this value in mind because we're going to use this value in order to adjust the height of the company address box. So we're going to go back to our code and proceed with the changes. So first I'm going to create a class which will allow us to target this box container for the company address. So that's going to be address, and I'm going to add a dot because this is a class. And inside, I'm going to set a height, and that's going to be, if you remember the number, 206 pixels, which corresponds to the same height of this other div. So we're going to reload the page. Okay, so perfect. So now we have three divs, which are equally high with the same height, 206 pixels. So that looks nice. So now we're going to finish by designing the footer that includes the website credits. So we're going to center it and change it into fine print. So for that, we're going to go back to our HTML document and go find the footer element. That includes a p tag, and inside of it, we're going to add the inline elements, which are the small tags. Also, to align in the center, we're going to use the class text center. So that should do it. And now we can reload the page, and here we go. So now we have the footer for the website credits that are nicely placed in the center and in fine print.